ain't mean none that puss in a while. She had the boy waiting, I don't mind waiting. Come here. Oh, you ain't gonna respond to my text? Oh, yeah. Want me keep on my diamonds and sex? What's your name? Keisha, Key, Jasmine, Kiera, Megan, go, Lisa, Ashley, Sierra, Sarah.
This is part 7 of the exorcism of Roland Doe. They got to the last part of the exorcism and the priest yelled, "I cast you out," to the demon inside of Roland. And then Roland was just silent, but not for long. He broke that silence when Roland started to sing. He sang so loud and moved with the music like crazy. They knew that this was still the demon controlling Roland. The exorcism had failed. If you remember from before, the Roman numerals 10 appeared on Roland's leg in blood. They assumed that they would have to do the exorcism 10 times before the demon left. Every single day, they repeated the exorcism again and again and again. Every single day they repeated the exorcism, the demon inside Roland kept getting more and more violent. They got to the 10th day, performed the exorcism, and Roland went silent. There was no signs of the demon, and there was no signs of the demon that entire week. The demon was finally gone, or so they thought. Stay tuned for part 8.
Walking past the mirror, ooh, get my fine, let her try me, boom, hammer time, I was born to flex, diamonds on my neck, I like boarding jets, I like more than sex, but nothing in this world that I like more than.
This is the last part of the exorcism of Roland Doe. They believed the exorcism had worked because there was no signs of the demon. But one day, Roland didn't feel good and told his family to come up to the room with him. His eyes snapped shut and he was in a trance. The demon spoke through Roland and said, "I will stay 10 days, but return in 4 days. If you stay and become a Catholic, I will stay away. If you do not believe me, then Roland will suffer forever." The priest believed that if Roland was baptized in a Catholic church, then the exorcism would work. On the way to the church, the demon spoke through Roland and said, "So, you are going to baptize me and you think that will drive me out with Holy Communion?" And then proceeded to drive the family off the road. It took 4 times to baptize Roland. Once they went on to his first communion, it took them 5 tries for him to swallow anything. Then, the Roman numerals 18 appeared on Roland's thigh. On the 18th night of the exorcism, they decided to perform it in a different way. Maybe this would help. At the end of the exorcism, Roland, in his own voice, said, "He's gone." He was free.
Mr. White Christmas, I'm Mr. Snow, I'm Mr. Icicle, I'm Mr. 10 Below. Friends call me Snow Miser. Whatever I touch turns to snow in my clutch. I'm too much. I'm Mr. Green Christmas, I'm Mr. Sun, I'm Mr. Heat Blister, I'm Mr. 101. They call me Heat Miser. Whatever I touch starts to melt in my clutch. I'm too much.
I am going to be telling you a scary childhood story. When I was 2 years old, my mom passed away. My dad wasn't in the picture, so I went to go live with my grandparents. My grandparents lived in a super old home that was built in the 1800s. I was a very imaginative child. So when I told my grandparents that I used to see people in the house, they just didn't believe me. There was one lady in particular that I would always see. She would sit at the end of my bed and watch me fall asleep. I wasn't scared of her because I thought she was an actual person. Plus, I was super little, so nothing even crossed my mind. At this point, I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember her talking to me constantly. She even sang me the song Rockabye Baby to get me to go to bed one night. Every single day when I would get home, I could see her in my window. At that point, I thought she was just waiting for me. She just wanted to be my friend, right? But as I got older, things started to get really weird between me and her. She wasn't this nice lady anymore. Stay tuned for part 2.
I feel like human being in my gut, so please don't wake me up. Yeah, I feel it in my trunk. Let it bang for the one time, and read the pain on my face from the jump. Don't make me bring it back when it's crunch time. I don't give a fuck.
This is part 2 of the lady in my room who would sing me lullabies to get me to go to bed. No one else in my family could see her. She even told me that she was my mom. I really believed her. If you remember, my mom passed away when I was 2. So, I mean, it seemed pretty real that it was my mom. I didn't really remember what my mom's face looked like when she passed away. And this lady, could be my mom. She continued to sing me lullabies every single night when I would go to bed. She would always be waiting for me in the window when I would get home from school. But I figured out pretty quickly it wasn't my mom. My mom was a sweet, kind-hearted person. This spirit was evil. She would get mad at me every single time any of my friends would come over. She told me she could see my future and that I was going to go to hell after I died in a car accident. It scared me so much, but no one believed me. It got to the point where I never even wanted to go in the car because I thought I was going to die. She convinced me I was evil. Stay tuned for part 3. That's
They say timing is everything, and I gotta believe it. 'Cause if time isn't everything, then we give up for no reason. Sometimes 1 + 1 = 2. Stubborn people always on the run from the jump. That's what we go. Following your heart's all fun till it get broke. Can't say you don't want, so let's take it back to 0. Baby, what you think I'm gonna do in Sacramento? You don't wanna be the one imposing on my schedule.
This is part 3 of the lady who used to sing me lullabies to get me to go to bed. This spirit was evil, and she started to convince me that I was evil too. She convinced me that I would go to hell because I was a horrible child, even though I wasn't. She convinced me that every single person in my life hated me. She even started to control my dreams, and I would wake up every single night screaming at the top of my lungs from a night terror, and she would be sitting at the end of my bed. This went on for years. When I turned 9, my grandpa passed away. And because it was a really big house, me and my grandma moved to a different house. And the evil spirit was just gone. I never saw her again. But was she really gone? When I was 15, I went to a psychic. The moment I walked into the room, she could feel a dark energy enter the room. She told me that someone was following me every single step I took. And when she said that, I knew exactly what she was talking about. After that, I went to a medium, and after many sessions with her, the dark presence was finally gone.
Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party. Mistletoe hung where you can see.
Hey, lovely people of TikTok, I'm going to take a step back from horror stories and tell you about something that's happening right now. The last 5% of Alaska's north coast is at risk for being opened for oil and gas exploration. This last 5% of land is home to polar bears, caribou, so many birds, and indigenous cultures. Their homes are at risk. If this land is opened up to oil and gas exploration, it puts so many species at risk. Polar bears have a 1 in 5 chance of being killed. They are drove out of their homes. The native cultures that flourish the land are driven out. Species of birds have to migrate to other places. Fish who live in the area can be killed. We're putting homes of animals and people at risk. You can help. Please take 5 seconds out of your day to go to the link in my bio. It already has a pre-written letter. All you have to do is sign your name and your email. By doing this, it sends a letter automatically to the Fish and Wildlife Services of Alaska. We have until January 6th of 2021. Please take time out of your day to go sign it. I'm going to be telling you a scary childhood story. My family did not have a lot of money. So when my dad lost his job, it forced us out of our house into a new house. My parents found this very cozy 4-bedroom home on the west side of Chicago. They bought it willingly knowing that someone was murdered there 3 years earlier. But because of the murder, the house was way cheaper than normal. I didn't know about the murder until I was way older. So moving there when I was only 6 years old didn't really seem like a big deal to me. I had no idea. That was until I started seeing someone in my room constantly. Years later, I found out the person was murdered in my room. Even though I was just 6 years old, my room was in the basement because I was the oldest out of all the siblings. This man that I would see in my room was not happy. It was almost like he was angry that I was in the room. It was like he was claiming it for himself. He would constantly tell me to get out. Stay tuned for part 2.
The only time I ever see her is when she's behind me in the mirror. Even from a distance I can hear her. I try to listen, but her whispers make my ears hurt.
Time for the games, okay, now Calvin Klein.
You gotta expect the unexpected.
Calvin Klein on my dick, yeah. Calvin Klein on my bitch, yeah. Cosa Nostra, how I slump him over with the super soaker, then he slid. Hey, Rosa.
Frank got the pass.
Hey, way past 12, we've been kicking it late, yeah. Better when you do it, girl, I think I might stay, yeah.